All right, Curious Ants, welcome back. Now, I hope you're ready because this is where our certification journey gets really interesting. We've been building a solid foundation, but now we're moving way beyond just pulling basic reports. This section is all about learning how to tell a client's full story by unlocking the true power of GA4 as a connected data hub.
So, let me ask you something right off the bat. Is Google Analytics 4 just about reports? I mean, if you've been following along, you already know the answer is a big, resounding no. But this is the section that's really going to prove it. We're about to blow the doors off what you thought GA4 could do. So let's get into it. So here's our game plan. We'll start by looking at GA4 as our central hub. Then, we'll talk about building a more complete picture of our client's data. After that, we'll get into unlocking some really deep insights. We'll also touch on the enterprise playbook, for those bigger clients. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by showing you how this all becomes your strategic advantage.
Okay, first things first. We have to start thinking about GA4 differently. It's not just a reporting tool, it's the foundation. I want you to picture it as the central nervous system for your client's entire digital presence. Why? Because its real power is in seeing that complete user journey, right? Across their website, across their app, all in one place. It gives you that single, unified view of what people are actually doing.
So once we've got that central hub set up, the next logical question is, how do we make it even more powerful? How do we make it smarter? Well, the answer is we start plugging things into it. We connect it to other data sources. This is all about enriching the data we already have to paint a much clearer picture for our clients. And the first connection we're going to talk about is, honestly, a non-negotiable. It's linking GA4 to Google Search Console. Seriously, for any client you have, this should be one of the first things you do. It's like opening up a direct line of sight into how they're performing in organic search. And it's a total game changer because for the first time, you can connect what's happening on Google with what happens on their website.
And this is where the magic really happens. You're not just telling a client, hey, you rank number 3 for this keyword. Who cares, right? Now you can say, okay, this specific search term brought X number of people to your site. They landed on this page, and look at this. This many of them actually went on to buy something. You see the difference? You're tying SEO efforts directly to dollars and cents. You're showing real business impact.
Okay, so we've got organic search covered. What about paid ads? Well, you guessed it. GA4 also plugs right into Google's big advertising platforms. Things like Display and Video 360 and Search Ads 360. And this lets you see how all that ad money is performing right inside of GA4.
Now hang on, I can already hear some of you thinking, but wait, I don't run ad campaigns, that's not what I do for my clients, and that is perfectly okay. Look, your job isn't to be the ad expert. Your job is to be the data expert who understands the whole story. Just knowing that this connection is possible, being able to see that ad data in your reports, it means you can have a much more intelligent conversation with your client about how their marketing budget is actually working. It makes you so much more valuable.
But what about all the data that doesn't live inside a Google product? Think about it. Your clients have tons of valuable info just sitting there. In a CRM, maybe, with data about their most loyal customers. Or in their content management system, with info about who wrote which blog post. All this data is stuck in its own little silo. Well, Data Import is the tool that breaks down those walls. It's the bridge that connects that offline business data with the online data we're collecting in GA4. And I know data import sounds kind of technical and scary, but honestly, the process is way simpler than you think. Basically, you just put your offline data into a spreadsheet. You upload it into GA4, and you tell Google, hey, this column means this, and that column means that. You're just mapping it out. But the result? Wow. All of a sudden, you can answer amazing questions like, which of our blog authors gets the most signups, or do our VIP customers behave differently on the site? You're adding incredible new layers to your analysis. Okay, so far it's all been about bringing data into Google Analytics to make it richer. But now we're going to flip that completely on its head. What happens when your client comes to you with a question that's just so specific, so tricky that you can't find the answer in any standard report? That's when you have to go deeper. That's when we need to get the raw data out of GA4. And the way we do that is with a tool called BigQuery. So what is it? Just think of it like this. It's a giant, super powerful database that lives in the cloud. It's designed to hold massive, and I mean massive, amounts of data and let you ask it really complex questions. It's basically the ultimate playground for a data analyst, a giant sandbox where you can build anything you want. Okay, this is a really important concept to get. The data you see in the regular GA4 reports is different from what you get in BigQuery. Here's the analogy I like. The GA4 interface is like a beautifully decorated cake you buy from a bakery. It's already been processed, baked, and made to look pretty. It's the final product. BigQuery, on the other hand, gives you all the raw ingredients: the flour, the eggs, the sugar, the chocolate chips, everything. It's the raw, unfiltered data, and it lets you bake whatever kind of custom cake you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, this quote really says it all. You can export literally all of your raw data and then start asking it questions using a special query language. You're not stuck with the pre-built reports anymore. You have access to every single click, every scroll, every page view, and you can slice and dice it however you want to answer those really tough client questions.
And right about now, I know some of you are probably thinking, oh no, do I have to learn how to code? And I want you to just take a deep breath. Let me be super clear about this. For this certification and for your job as a brilliant analyst, you do not need to become a coding expert. Your job is to be the strategist. You need to understand what's possible with BigQuery and know when to recommend it to a client. You're the architect, not the builder.
Okay, let's shift gears a little. As you get better and better at this, you're going to start working with bigger clients. And big, enterprise-level clients have different needs and use different tools. So what we're about to talk about isn't a sales pitch for a fancy product. It's about getting you ready for those bigger conversations so you sound like you know what you're talking about when you're in the room with a Fortune 500 company.
And that enterprise-level tool is called Analytics 360. You'll often hear it called GA360. It's basically the supercharged big business version of GA4. It's built from the ground up to handle the massive amounts of data and the complex needs that huge companies have.
So what's the big difference? Well, the most obvious one is just sheer size and power. The limits on everything just go way up. You can have more custom dimensions, way more audiences, and your BigQuery export goes from 1 million events a day to, well, billions. If you're a giant company collecting mountains of data every single day, the free version just isn't going to cut it. You need the power of 360.
But it's not just about bigger limits. Analytics 360 also gives you some cool ways to organize your data. The first one is something called a sub-property. Imagine a big global company. A sub-property lets them take their main data firehose and create a smaller, filtered version. So, for example, they can create a property just for the marketing team in France. So that team only sees data from France. It's all about control.
And then you've got the exact opposite of that, which is called a roll-up property. This lets a company take data from a bunch of different sources and combine them into one big picture view. Think about a company that owns a few different brands. A roll-up property would let them see all the data from all those different brands in one place to get a high-level view of how the whole business is doing. Okay, wow, we have covered a ton of ground, haven't we? We talked about bringing data in, getting data out, and even peeked into the world of enterprise analytics. So let's bring this all together. Why does any of this matter for you? Because this is the stuff that takes you from being someone who just pulls reports to being an absolutely essential strategic partner for your clients.
This is really the transformation we're talking about. Look at what you'll be able to do. You can recommend the exact right tools for your client. You can show them how to finally see their complete customer picture. You'll know when the standard reports are enough and when it's time to bring in the big guns with BigQuery. You're making a huge shift here, moving from just reporting on what happened yesterday to advising your client on what they should do tomorrow.
Listen, this next part of the course is going to hand you an incredibly powerful toolkit. The knowledge you're about to gain will let you see the bigger picture, connect dots no one else can see, and find some truly game-changing insights for your clients. So as you go through these lessons, I want you to keep one question at the front of your mind. You're getting the tools. How are you going to use them to become your client's most valuable, most indispensable partner? All right, let's do this, Curious Ants. I can't wait to see what you achieve.